Oh, now it's real. We're going to make a start, I feel. Others will come, including my co-presenter, Aftab. But welcome. Thank you, everyone, for taking time before the opening plenary. My name is Robbie. I'm with ISOC, and we're talking today about MANRS. To clarify, this meeting isn't necessarily just for MANRS participants. It's for those who have an interest in routing security as well. And maybe after this, you will find it that it's a program for you to join as well, if you're not already a participant. So we'll get started. I was going to run a little bit of a survey here, but then I realized I can't really show you results on the fly. So we'll move on with that. Technical issue. To the agenda, what we're going to today. So we're going to talk a little bit about the MANRS community. For some of you here, you might not be fully aware of what MANRS is, and it really is a community more than a program, I feel. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about what activities we have in place for 2023, and also looking further ahead from 2023. A big aim for us this year is, and even from the start, has been to set MANRS up as a self-sustaining program. So we'll talk a little bit about that and open the floor as well to questions, which we hope you have many of as well. So today I've been volunteered to present the MANRS update. I'm fairly new with ISOC and this program. I originally was with, it's quite practicing next door, aren't they? I was with APRICOT for 7 years, so I'm quite well aware of the community. A lot of familiar faces out here today, which makes it a whole lot easier. And at the same time, it was quite a interesting program to follow from my perspective there at APRICOT as well. Now that I'm working on the program, I'm getting a new perspective on all the amazing work that has been accomplished in the 8 years that the program's been up. And as I've found, it is really this community that it's established, which is really sets it apart from a lot of other programs out there, technical programs. And that's what I kind of want to get to here today. So to begin, sorry, we don't have a clicker, so I'm going to be doing this also for the people at home as well. To begin, I want to talk about the biggest asset that MANRS has, which is the people, the community. Just this month, we welcomed our 900th participant to the program. As you can see, network operators make up the largest proportion of the community, but we do have a growing number of IXPs, CDN and cloud operators as well, and a small selection of vendors, including Cisco as one of them. On top of this, we also have 20 partners, including APRICOT, who help support our work as well. And that has a lot to do with the outreach as well as the technical components of it, which we'll get into a little bit later. If we look into the APRICOT region itself, there's plenty of potential for growth, with not even 1% of the ASNs and around 10% of the 191 IXPs in region participating in the program. We understand the commitment required to participate can be off-putting for some, but we hope the program and routing security becomes more prevalent, and community members like yourselves who are here and participating can encourage their colleagues as well to come over and check it out and start using these best practices that we encourage operators to do. So we're going to be here all this week. Please come see us. We're right next to the APRICOT booth there. If you have any questions associated with it, do hit us up because that's what we're here to do, listen and to answer your questions. Thank you for my co-presenter, Aftab, coming along. So this community-led approach has also culminated in recent foundation of the MANRS Steering Committee, with elected members now providing oversight and guidance of the MANRS programs by the MANRS participants. MANRS was set up with a goal to be self-regulating, and while we acknowledge this will take time and resources, which ISOC has primarily provided thus far, this new leadership is an important first step. Last year, the steering committee met 9 times to discuss how to enhance the existing programs, how to improve data quality, levels of MANRS conformance of existing participants, the MANRS response to the FCC notice of inquiry on secure internet routing, the problems of administrative bogans, which we'll go into a little bit more detail soon, cyber squatting of AS sets, and issues with third-party IRRs, and developing new initiatives such as MANRS Plus, which has been floating around the community for a little bit, and we'll discuss that a little bit more, and we welcome questions on that during this session. So what do we have in store for 2023? First off, we've begun issuing monthly reports to all participating network operators showing their state of routing security and conformance with the 4 MANRS actions. These can be sent to primary or numerous secondary contacts and help with verifying action 3 of MANRS, which is to facilitate global operational communication coordination. If you have any feedback on these reports thus far, it's a new concept. We really would like to hear about it, but we feel that they are a non-intrusive way to get across some important information. We have a lot of work lined up to improve MANRS Observatory, which has become a powerful tool that we use to measure the conformance of ASNs with the MANRS actions. It collates information from third-party data resources, though unfortunately of the 2 data resources we use to identify route incidents, BGP Stream is no longer actively maintained, while GRIP is a newer development that we've been nurturing in the past 12 months. It has a tendency to generate false positives. So we're working through that this year as well to improve the output. We'll therefore be working on those improvements and the accuracy of route incident detection as well. Also in the past month, we've launched the MANRS API that allows users to build their own reporting mechanisms. Through the observatory, we've recently observed significant issues with bogan advertisements on the public internet, which account for around 50% of observed route incidents. Oh, one. How do we solve the problem? Yes, back one. Thank you. I don't have my slide there, so thank you very much. Where was I? The observatory, yeah. So for those unaware, bogans are number addresses, ASNs and IPs that should not be routed. They typically include unallocated and special purpose addresses, but legitimately unassigned number resources are marked bogan, usually temporarily by the RIRs for administrative reasons. Typically, loss of contact or unpaid bills is the case. This causes many route incidents to be flagged and not only reduces conformance with MANRS actions, but in the future it could cause problems with networks implementing ROV. Now the solutions in terms of solving this issue, we are working on persuading the NRO and RIRs to categorize these so-called administrative bogans differently so we can exclude them as route incidents. We are also looking at developing a technical solution to allow them to be more easily filtered from the MANRS measurements. Now I'm going to pass it over to Aftab.
Yes. Thanks, Robbie. Sorry, I was just running late from another session. So First, would like to acknowledge a very important thing before we move on to the bogon ones. The only source we have right now is thanks to the person sitting in front of me, Jeff Houston. So if there is something wrong in it, you can blame him, but we haven't found anything wrong in it. Yes. So we have been using it for quite some time, and we have looked at the data. So I'll come to it in a moment. Okay, so interestingly, I don't have it in front of me. So there are a few things which we have done. So that's last year. We created a small group within the MANRS initiative. It's called the MANRS research team because we do have a researcher. It's Dr. Amrish with us. So it's myself, Amrish, and Max Stuckey, who work on few things, looking at the data. So we were able to do a few things. One, the most important part is if you are familiar with GRIP, which is a global routing information platform, it has a lot of false positive, sometimes a lot, sometimes not many. So our most important part is that we should be able to clean up. So we have developed certain prototypes. We are working on it to double check and triple check the data before we publish it. And we are working on we are working with the author of GRIP, the developer of the GRIP, who is very kind to help with us, work with us on this as well. So it's an ongoing work. We will be able to present few things in Q2, and that is part of our next MANRS community meeting. We will present some data at how much we were able to fix that. But it's an ongoing work. We are doing it at the moment, but we started it last year. We developed few tools internally. One of them is a ROA history. So it's API based. If you go to that link, you can just put your prefix and it will give you how many ROAs since the very beginning. Thanks to the data provided by RIPE and CC, it can look it up that when the first ROA was created for that particular prefix or that particular ASN, and which is the current one. So it'll give you the whole history of that ROA, and then you can look it up if something has expired or something has changed and how it has performed. Because the thing is, anyone create a ROA for your ASN. So if you want to check if someone is creating ROA for your ASN, doesn't make any difference, but still you can have a look and create monitoring if you want to. We did a small study looking at the non-authenticated IRR databases, most importantly RADB and AllDB, that who is putting the route objects in those databases. And we presented it in multiple NOGs across the globe. And we were able to clean up a lot of route objects. And we will be presenting very soon that how much cleaner it is in 12 months. So that is part of our ongoing work. So we started working with the research, MANRS research ambassadors and fellows. And one of our research paper was accepted in PAM, which is the Passive and Active Measurement conference. And it will be, I mean, you can't share much details because, of course, it will be published and presented at the conference. But it was related to the timing of the ROA, that how it propagates and how it works. We further developed few tools with the help of external entities. They were all sponsored by ISOC. So if you want to read a .ROA file or a ROA file, or if you want to read a manifest file, you can use the print ROA tool. You can look it up and it will give you all the details present in that ROA file. Thanks to the work by Mingwei Zhang from who works now at Cloudflare. He also developed some tool called Monocule or Monocule. I'm forgetting the spelling. But yeah, so you can read the ROA. So it's not just a encrypted file. You can read what's in it and you can have a look. There are currently 2 more research papers which our team has submitted to multiple conferences, and we are still waiting for the outcome of those. So next slide. Right. So 2023 plans. So we have laid down the plan for 2023 that what we would like to do. It will be open for our MANRS research ambassadors and fellows, which will be called mentors moving forward. So these are the topics we would like to evaluate and work on with the community. We do have some expertise. We do have some data points we want to work on. But of course, we don't want to do it like internally. If you are interested, the MANRS Research Fund will be available for that. Please, you can apply. The application will open in April, and you can join us and work together on this. Right. We are also looking at various data points in the existing IR database, whether it is the authenticated or non-authenticated. If you have some ideas, if you want to work with us, trying to clean up something, please let us know. And if you have something that's saying, okay, this doesn't look right, would you like to have more information? Probably we will be able to give you more details. Right now, what we are doing, we are converting a lot of data set into JSON so that it's easy to parse and easy to look at. Well, it makes our life easy. Number one is the RADB into JSON now. So if you need that, please reach out to us. We can provide you the details. It makes life much easy. JSON makes life easy for everyone, I guess. So next piece. Before I go into the MANRS Plus, now I want to go discuss the bogon problem again slightly. So what happens is, right now, if you go to the RIR delegation file, so there are 3 distinct categories. Number 1 is assigned. Number 2 is the reserved. And number 3 is available. So it's not a problem. I would say the issue is, or concern is, that what we accept today is anything which is not assigned to anyone is considered a bogon, which is the right definition. But for many operators, reserved is a problematic issue because every RIR has its own policy how they define a reserve. For example, if you do not pay your yearly dues to your respective RIR, after X number of days, weeks, or month, that resource moved to reserved. That X number of days, weeks, or month is hypothetical, and it depends upon which RIR you're dealing with. If it is APRICOT, it can be up to 3 months, 6 months. At times, it's 1 year. If it is ARIN, it could be very strict and move into reserve. So it depends how they mark it as reserve, from assigned to reserve. Available, that has no concern at all. So the available, everybody believes that is actually the bogon. So there is no question, there is no concern. The problem is with reserve. So if you are relying on Team Cymru's bogon feed, you're updating your filters, or if you have the BGP feed from them, that feed only has available. They do not put reserved in it. We take the MANRS Observatory, take the feed from CIDR report, and that has available plus reserved. Thankfully, so when we requested Jeff if he start marking them as reserved and available, he did. So we have the data which identifies quite nicely that these are available in reserve. So MANRS Steering Committee last year reached out to NRO, and of course to every RIR, asking them to actually define it properly, what is bogon to them, so that we can communicate to the community as well, and then fix our monitoring. Because as Robbie explained, more than 50% incident we mark as incident are because of the reserved bogon space. So if the RIR doesn't consider them as bogon, then we are incorrectly marking them as incidents. So they shouldn't be marked as incidents. So that is still a problem. So we have requested officially, that's a message went out from steering committee to the NRO secretariat, and they have, the NRO has agreed to look into this matter and come up with a statement that what is the actual definition from their perspective. So that is still a concern. This is still, we haven't resolved it yet. We believe that there should be some way or mechanism where we can address that. So if they said, no, everything is bogon, then everything is bogon. That's fine. And we move on and we mark it as it is. If they say, well, we are adding another category of non-payment or something else, they can come up with something and then we'll consider it afterwards. But right now we do not have any category. We have only these categories. So that is still a concern. We haven't resolved it. We are still working with them. Once we have some more input from them, we will share it with the community, definitely. So it is the steering committee leading that one. It is not just the MANRS project team, it's the steering committee. So that is the update on the bogon side. It addresses both the IPv4, IPv6. Of course, the problem is much bigger in IPv4 than in the IPv6, and also with the ASN. So if you are fond of going to the CIDR report every day, you will find there's a long list of bogon ASN as well. So that is still a problem. So the second thing which we are doing is making sure that we also look up the data in the global routing table on hourly basis. So right now, when Jeff calculates the table, it is based on 24-hour cycle. So we would like to give you much more cleaner view of what is happening through observatory. So even though we pick up all the routes from the CIDR report, we look it up from the global routing table, making sure that they are actually visible and from when till when they were visible. So you know when what happened and when it happened. So if it was a genuine incident, you can go back and fix that problem. It gives you much cleaner view of how it happened rather than give you a 24-hour window. So these are the changes we are expecting. Now, moving into the MANRS Plus discussion. So there was of course, you have seen the initial slides. MANRS initiative is growing pretty nicely. We have a lot of network operators, CDN, IXs, not a lot from the APAC region, but still the numbers are growing. There was a gap, and we found that, of course, in the 77,000 networks you see on the global routing table, that's not all ISPs or CDNs or so there's a big chunk of enterprise financial institutions, banks, or different types of enterprises in that routing table. So how do we address them? Their needs and their demands are quite different. A lot of them are just what do you call it, the stub networks, or they do not provide any downstream customers. So their demands are different, their requirements are different, and of course, probably we are not addressing them properly, or they do not have the business case to get onto this one. So we started working with the working group called the MANRS Plus, which is adding more value to entities like this, where they can be part of it, where we provide them more details, more auditing, more evaluation, saying, okay, fine, we give you more details, and that might trigger some more enterprise and the financial institutions to join MANRS initiative, because that's the biggest chunk we are missing at the moment. All these NOGs or relevant conferences we go to, of course, we do not see a lot of them coming to these events. So we are working with certain organizations or associations which can help us pass on the message. So MANRS Plus is part of that initiative. I've discussed all these things. So there is a MANRS Plus working group which meets every month and discuss all these. There's active discussion on the mailing list. They're trying to work out what to do. So we are trying to reach out to these associations and institutions through, for example, there is an association for. Sorry. Yes.
Very green Akamai right now. So one of the challenges, like what you just said, is we're going to give you more data, more reports to some organization. And we've even have more academic studies going out saying, like, why aren't people responding? Right. And I think this is kind of one of the things of thinking about what goes on, because organizations get deluged. I mean, just take shadow server data sets. Super, super valuable. Every organization should be using it because it tells you exactly what's at risk on your network. Very few people who subscribe to it actually look at it, right? In Akamai, we get so much on those reports, we're just overwhelmed. So we have to cherry pick and triage. But that's not most organizations. So I think one of the things with MANRS Plus to think about is that problem. Organizations are just overloaded. People, right? So doing here's some more data to say, here's what you need to do for risk. You know, when you're getting all these other reports coming in there, I think that's one of the things that I hope MANRS Plus starts to think about. That's a big problem we got.
Absolutely.
Doing it and then you're pushing rope.
Yeah. So one thing which we learned from monthly reporting emails, that when we started sending those emails, number of login hits to the MANRS observatory increased. People were, I mean, they subscribed to MANRS, they joined the initiative, they become participant, but they were not coming to the observatory to look at how their network was performing. So when we started sending them emails, of course, there was not like a huge number, but there was a slight increase, more than slight increase in participant actually coming back and looking up the data after every email sent out to them. Because they saw something which was not right and they say, oh, hold on a second, what happened here? Because it's easy to understand. The email is easy to understand. The format is easy to understand, which says, okay, there was one incident. You want more details, just go and click. It takes you back and then you can review what actually happened. And if it also gives you an opportunity to provide feedback. If there is something wrong with it, you can say, well, yeah, actually the details are not correct. This is a genuine customer who forgot to update the records or something like that. But anyway, it gives them more details. Yes. The second problem we have seen with enterprises, some of them who join MANRS, we ask them like, okay, so why don't you look at the data? I said, well, I do not know what to do with the data, as Barry said, because there's so much data there. So we need to make it easy to understand for the management of theirs. Okay, whoever is running the BGP, they understand, but how do they present it to their bosses or to their management that this is actually creating a problem? So yes, we are trying to address that. The data sources, I mean, the shadow server is a perfect example. It's a treasure trove of really, really good data set. People don't use it because at times you get an Excel file and then you have to parse it and then you have to make sure that the relevant information is there. So data is there in a very, very raw format, and you sometimes cannot make something meaningful out of it. And for enterprise, it's a bigger challenge because they have resources issue, HR resource issue, and sometimes the knowledge gap between what is happening on the BGP actually and what we are trying to convey. So yes, they are trying to address that. It's a bigger problem because it's a bigger chunk. It's like ISPs are very well aware of everything, I would say. Even something is happening, they know, yeah, we know about that. We try to fix it. I mean, we will fix it. But the enterprise, most of them are not even aware of the problems. And when you try to show the picture, they say, well, I don't know how to work on this one, or I don't know how to work on this problem. So it's a bigger problem. And that's why we said, okay, let's come up with another program. But internally and working with the steering committee, the decision was, okay, let's open up another working group, invite as many people as we can, which are not normally part of the ISP sector. So we have people from, for example, financial institutes. We have some really, really good academics who are trying to help us and make a better understanding that what is actually happening. So It is a long shot, but we are very confident that something good will come out of it. And the progress is really, really positive so far. So it started as an idea late last year, and we already have a working group with active terms of references, and we are working to improve that. So next one. Right. So I did slightly mention about small things that about mentors and ambassadors. So if you are following MANRS, we during the pandemic, we started the MANRS Fellowship and Ambassador Program. So the ambassadors are the representative of existing MANRS participants. So if your organization is already part of MANRS, we invite you to act as an ambassador of MANRS and help people from the community in 3 different categories. One was training, most important one. Second one was research, and the third one was policy. And of course, then we selected fellows from from the larger community. So anyone, whether they are part of the MANRS participant or not, they can apply for the MANRS fellowship. And we had an overwhelming response for the fellowship. Every year we receive more than 400 applications just for training. And also for the research, we had first and second year, we had more than 100 applications for application. And of course, a policy being very niche, we also got more than 50 applications year on year. So we are changing that program slightly, a little bit more, of course, because we are moving into, I can't say post-pandemic area or era, but we are not into lockdowns or travel restrictions. So we are changing the program a little bit. It will be called MANRS Mentors and Ambassadors. So ambassadors will remain as it is, but the fellows, okay, the other way, yes, I have always make that mistake. It will switch. So the ambassadors will become the mentors, and the fellows will become the ambassadors. Because there was a misunderstanding within the community at times. For example, if you are an APRICOT fellow, that fellow, or an APRICOT fellow, that fellow has a different meaning than the MANRS fellowship. We expect you to be the trainer. We expect you to be someone who goes into the community and teach people, share their knowledge. In APRICOT fellow or the APRICOT fellow, you are expected to come and learn. Of course, the knowledge sharing, but you are expected to come and learn. So that was slightly different. So we have renamed it so that it's much more clear. We will be doing it this year. And if you would like to be part of that, as I said, applications will open up soon. Please make sure that you follow our Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and go to the website as well. We will be doing the announcement. Of course, it's a very competitive process for both categories. So make sure that you are clear in your application that what you want to do and what you want to achieve through these programs. It's all funded. So we provide funding support for doing the work for the community and for us. So it's paid mentorship and the ambassadorship. So if we do have, at least I can see one ambassador sitting at the back, Ram, who has served previously in the MANRS ambassadorship program. And if you want to learn more, he can provide more details about that. We will keep the 3 tracks, training, research, and policy. Policy is the tough one. So of course, because you would like to address the policy issues of the routing security in general, reach out to the policymakers, reach out to the regulators, work it out. What do they want? How can the routing security or MANRS can help them include the routing security as the major issue in the cybersecurity. Because what we have seen, every time you see a cybersecurity paper coming out of any regulator or the government, they all talk about the application level security. They forget about anything related to routing. They do not even talk about it. Look up any, I mean, we reviewed more than 10 cybersecurity policies of CD countries. We did not find anything in any of those. Things are changing. At least the OECD has published a very intensive routing security paper. So things will hopefully improve. They have highlighted MANRS in that quite extensively. That is a positive, but of course we need help on the policy side as well. So research, training, and policy will continue. So if you are interested in any of them, if you're part of the MANRS participant organization, you are eligible. If you're not part of that the participant organization, you are still eligible, but for a different category. Please help us make it a more successful program. We had really good outcomes. We will be publishing our MANRS 2020 report very soon, and you will see how many trainings we have done, how many people we have trained, how many research activities we have conducted. I've already mentioned we published one paper in PAM, 2 are under review in different conferences, which will be hopefully will be accepted soon. Moving forward, training. So I explained that in detail, but the thing is, training is not just about telling people how to do things. It's about sharing the knowledge, what you are already doing. For example, if you are a MANRS participant organization, that means you have implemented the MANRS actions. That means you know how to do that. So it's more about sharing your knowledge, what were the issues you encountered, how you address the complaints or the tickets which came up after you implemented the ROV, or you implemented the PCP 38. So what actually happened afterwards? So, and how you are maintaining your point of contact, how you are maintaining your admin C, tech C, or IRT objects if you are in APNIC region, or abuse C globally. So these are the challenges, how you address those challenges. It's more of a experience sharing rather than just going into router is saying, how do you configure that, right? We have already published implementation guides, thanks to the RIPE NCC BCOP BOF, which is community vetted, available through GitHub. If you think you want to change something, you can go and do a pull request. That document is already available. So what's the point of doing a training? The point of doing all these trainings, and it's more about knowledge sharing rather than just giving you snippets of configuration. So we have a snippet of configuration for Nokia, Cisco, Juniper, MikroTik, Huawei as well. So the snippets are available. You can just copy and paste, but it's not about that. It's about what actually happens afterwards. So what happens if you make those changes? So this is what we want from you. So if you can help with that. Next. Policymaker engagement, I've already explained. We were lucky enough to be mentioned in the OECD report and also in the FCC NOI, which is the notice of I something. So so that document actually asks you about the routing security details and how MANRS is making a difference. So but that's not it, right? So that's not just the OECD. Of course, routing security is now mentioned in the OECD. FCC is promoting that as well. We need to make sure that the policymakers in every country, in every region, actually read those documents. So it's not about, well, it's there in the document, but if nobody is reading it, what's the point? So you have to make sure. So we want to do policy engagement, making sure that people who are responsible in the country, in the region, are actually looking at those documents. Next slide, please. Right. So 2023 and moving forward. You want to take that? Yeah. Okay, fine. I'll just continue. Or you can continue. Come on. Yes. Yeah. So on the research side or on the training side or on the policy side, if you have anything, any question, any concern, please do find me, do reach out to me or reach out to any MANRS community member. We have some of the very senior members here who can help you out. We are very active. But if you have any question, reach out to me, reach out to them, reach out to us through the contact form on the MANRS. We have a very well-working ticketing system. We do not ignore any email at all now. So there was a concern last year. I know that that has been addressed. We do not escape any email coming to through our contact form. So you will get a notification as well when you send an email saying, "Oh, I sent an email, nobody responded to that." You will get a notification, and someone is assigned to that ticket right then. So that problem has been resolved. So if you have any other problems similar to that, please reach out to us. For what we are going to do this year and moving forward, Robbie will explain.
Thanks, Aftab. Aftab's really knowledgeable. How long you been with the program now? 5 years? Since the beginning. Yeah, exactly. So I'm the rookie. I'm learning from the master here. So Aftab was lead of the program. He's now moved on. It's Kevin Meinl and Kevin Chege. And a lot of the moving forward, the self-sustaining model has come into focus for 2023 and beyond this year. And that's what we're here a lot to talk about this week as well. We have some representatives from the foundation side of ISOC. For those unaware, ISOC is now has two components, ISOC as it was and ISOC Foundation, which is a servicing component of ISOC, which is also associated with funding opportunities. And we have two of our representatives here in Jeff. Stand up, Jeff, just to make everyone know. And Robert, is Robert around as well? He just stepped out. Okay. We'll be probably introducing you to them. They're fairly new to this community throughout the week to have these sort of discussions that we're about to talk about here. So the global routing system is becoming increasingly recognized as a critical component of the internet, and routing security is therefore increasing and gaining attention of policymakers. Our standpoint is on industry-led best practices, the most appropriate way of improving routing security. 2023 marks an important point in the MANRS program as we look to build on this work. We've achieved so much in the 8 years so far, and now we need to move towards a self-sustaining model. The MANRS Steering Committee, in consultation with the MANRS community, will be formulating plans for how the community would like to see MANRS develop, including how it should be governed and funded in the years ahead. MANRS is a community-led initiative, so the input of everyone is welcome in this. As I've discussed, we have a lot of ideas for the program in 2023 and beyond, but we're realistic as to what we can do with resources we have. Obviously, we understand there's an essential component of MANRS, and I'm sure a lot of the community would see the desirable actions and the value-added activities are something that would be great to have as under that essential section as well. For the fact is, it's about developing the capacity of the community, which I mentioned at the start, is the greatest asset of the program itself. So the Internet Society has funded the MANRS initiative since its inception, but it also needs the support of the community to continue to grow and strengthen. We are therefore looking for industry sponsors interested in supporting the MANRS Observatory, its Mentors Ambassadors program, its training program, and its community events, including the Routing Security Summit, which we'll be holding in July this year. If you are a MANRS participant, such as network operator, IXP, CDN, cloud provider or vendor, please consider becoming an organisation member, an ISOC organisation member. Robert is the person to talk to about that. He's here all week. It looks exactly like me and shares the same name. So find one of us and you'll find them both. And that'll help towards improving to secure the global network as well. Finally, of those of you who are here and not already MANRS participants, please take a look at the MANRS website to learn more and to get involved in the community. Getting involved in the community can also mean contributing and sharing your stories as well. So we've got the MANRS blog, which is about sharing your successes and lessons learned with APRICOT and routing security. So all ears, I would love to hear from you on those stories and being able to share that with the community. We learn together. And that is it. We'll open it up for questions. No, do you have the bags? Any questions? Any comments? Any desires of the MANRS program? Any direction? Yeah, I know. Any funding opportunities? Yes,
Brought this up yesterday and I think an update on MANRS. The original consultation was to really make this like an RFP requirement. Things have been lost over the years, you know, as making it as a RFP requirement. Because if you don't have the economics behind it, there's again, you're saturated with so much noise, so much reports, so many things you have to do in your network.
That might not working.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Seems to be working. I'll just speak even louder.
Exactly.
So that's what what's been like, it's drifted off the requirements as having like, here's a contractual form you put into your RFP. Here's an RFP example. Everybody put in your RFP. Are you MANRS compliant? Prove to me you're MANRS compliant, you know, as part of somebody who goes through and buys bandwidth.
So that is one of the point in the MANRS Plus section program, which we are trying to address, because if I would like to have that today, but the problem is it's a chicken and egg problem. Vendors would like to see that as well, because when we started the MANRS program, they said, "Oh, we comply with everything. You can put that today in the in any RFQ or coming in or RFP coming in. We will be happily prove that the vendor you are selecting is actually MANRS compliant. It gives you all the features, bells and whistles, which help you comply with the MANRS as well." The problem is, of course, people asking for it. So we have to go on the other side of the table, asking the enterprises. ISPs are mature enough so to know all these things. But yes, you are right. This is one of the points we would like to address, saying this has to go into the RFPs, making sure that it is, the wordings are there, the examples are there. I still remember the IPv6 RFP, which example came out of the RIPE NCC, which probably 12 years ago, we used it when we were looking for the upstream providers and back in the operators days. And it helped us a lot in finding the right words, because we were new to IPv6 at that time. We say, okay, how do we put it in the RFP? And it was so easy because the examples were there. So yes, that is one of the tasks we have in hand, to come up with something, a statement which says, well, just use this. It will help you achieve these things. And you can just put it in the RFP. So yeah, it's well taken. I'll make sure that I provide that feedback back to the working group.
Jeff Houston, APRICOT. Look, there is a real problem here that you highlighted, I think, in the first part of your talk about the ground truth in the routing system that we actually use to sort out, are you advertising prefixes that are effectively announceable, or are you announcing space that shouldn't? And the problem we have is, as you correctly pointed out, is the varying use of reserved. And let me, I suppose, say exactly what's going on. Aaron used reserved as an enforcement mechanism for folk who were delinquent or late in paying their bills. The rest of us have no idea how to interpret that, but we go with, if you will, the majority view that says reserved says it's not yours, it's the RIR's, it's reserved, you shouldn't be announcing it. And so we end up swamping the world in the Bogon list with a whole bunch of ASs and prefixes, which, if you really scratch a little bit, it's not really reserved. It's in this strange state where the lease, the rights to use that address are in some odd state because they haven't been updating, paying their bills, signing their contracts, whatever. The problem with this is that you can't tell and second guess that RIR from the outside. Reserved is reserved. And I can't do anything about that in my lists because I'm not going to second guess Aaron because they have the registry. I'm just looking at what they publish. So thank you for writing to the NRO. I wish you all the luck in the world of getting this resolved. I am not optimistic because their business practices differ from the other RIRs, and that's just the strength of it. The other part is how do you make it more current, or could you? The RIRs publish their daily stats files, which is what I use as the point of authority, once every 24 hours on different hours of the day, depending on the RIR. And so necessarily this becomes a 24-hour snapshot because that's what's going on. I'm not sure taking more constant snapshots of the routing table is going to help anything because the underlying status of what addresses are actually available to be announced in the routing system, you know, what are being announced, sorry, what are being, you know, held as reserveds and unavailable, etc., doesn't change over, you know, many more than every 24 hours. So those are the underlying issues. You mentioned something about back history. I have a lot of back history. I'm like, it's a computer. It has memory. It knows what it's doing. And if you want to tap into the history of every single prefix and its status in the rower system, the data is there if you want it. You just got to ask. Thank you.
Yeah. So on the second point first is the reason why it was raised to us that so what is happening if once we receive a CIDR report data that of course someone is advertising it and whoever is announcing it. So we also get the path and the origin. So the only thing what we are trying to do is multiple lookup. So source data remains the same. We just want to show, and it is important to us from the MANRS point of view because we penalized operators at how long they advertise that Bogon route. So if you marked a route at 9 a.m. Sydney time, AEDT or AEST, whatever, the operator stopped advertising it after 2 hours, right? But right now the observatory mark it as a 24-hour incident, which penalizes them more in terms of their score, the score they get in their monthly reports. So we penalize them more. So if it is only for 1 hour, then they get less penalty because some operator mentioned that by the time we got the report, we were looking at the CIDR report. By the time we got it, it took us a couple of hours to review it and fix our filters. So that was the idea behind doing a multiple lookup, which Jeff doesn't agree with. So let's see.
No, let's talk a little bit more about this data. So what I do for the CIDR report and the underlying ideas behind this is to take a snapshot, and that snapshot is conventionally every 24 hours. So it's ka-chung, click, ka-chung, click. If I start looking at updates, I think we all know we have a problem because the update traffic is incredibly messy and prefixes get advertised for 30 seconds, you know, the minimum route advertising interval. And if you start looking for anomalies in updates, you've just opened up the trash heap and you're looking at this enormous pile of steaming trash and trying to sort out what's signal and what's data is actually incredibly difficult. And this is why the compromise in my head in generating that data was the 24-hour snapshot gets rid of the dynamic noise of BGP updates. And I appreciate the operators are going, oh, I want a timeline that talks about seconds. But if you really want me to look into your updates, you really are not doing the right thing by anyone. Everyone advertises crap and pulls it back in again in BGP. That's just the way we all abuse BGP. So I'd caution against us as a community trying to up that timeline beyond a regular snapshot. The regular snapshot gives us some degree of stability. Looking at updates makes the problem of understanding what's real and what's not orders of magnitude harder. So let me just offer that cautionary word of advice.
No, absolutely. And so, and that's why I mentioned that work is part of the research one. It's not going into the operations until we can prove something that it actually helps identify anything. So yeah, that it gives me a lot of work to do, but yeah, we will present it in the next quarter to say, well, it's not worth it, or maybe it is worth it. So yeah, so this is my target with the team I'm working with. So hopefully we'll present something actionable or to say, well, it was not worth it. Yes, maybe.
Okay.
And the first point you raised about the NRO was, yes, we are a bit blindsided. We can't do anything about it. The only one category we see is reserved. We don't know what is happening behind it. 2018, we had this incident where one of the RIR marked a major social network prefix as reserved. And of course, it created a lot of problem because
I could put the ARIN reserved into the freezer box for a week and then release them and say it's really reserved after a week or a month. Yeah. But I'm second guessing ARIN, and I don't think that's up to me to second guess a business procedure that's opaque to me. And so unless ARIN are actually able to do a deeper commentary as to why it's reserved, the rest of us have to accept it at face value. And that's the heart of the problem. Could second guess? Probably unwise.
So we will come back to the community for the second guesses if NRO says, sorry, we can't help you.
Ooh, I'd rather be guided by ARIN on this one. It's their business process.
They are. I've been told they are chairing the resource services group this year, so they will be responsible for answering. And the person who is responsible is here. I'm not sure if he's he's not here in the room, but he's here, and we will be having a good conversation.
It's not the first time it's been raised with ARIN.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Hi, Seiji Kamara. I work at Google, but I'm just making a quick comment as someone contributing to the MANRS Plus working group. Barry was raising a question about what's being put in the RFP, and I couldn't hear the first part of the question because people are moving in and out of the room. But there should be I think the working group is preparing some survey to understand what people are trying to put in RFPs, what would make them comfortable, like the current status versus what they see as ideal. And this is as you were mentioning, various sectors, the ISPs, but not only that, cloud providers, and also enterprises who really are seeking more security in the routing system. We're seeing more of that as cloud providers. So those surveys should be, I think, going out sometime. And it'll really help the working group to get a lot more feedback on what should be put in these sort of higher level matters.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for the update. Yes. So now you have a MANRS Plus working group member. So if you have any question, you can reach out.
Two areas of feedback. One is the training and the guidelines that we have in MANRS is really important. But one of the things that the industry is having problems with as we work DDoS attacks across networks is that, oh, let's go talk to this operator. They don't collaborate, they don't cooperate, they don't respond. They don't have NetFlow running. They don't run, any anti-spoofing. And we go on there and we say like, oh, look, you're on the MANRS list, but we're getting you as a major source of DDoS generation. Some of your key customers are DDoS operators, right? So this is a disparity, right, aspect of it. So I don't know how within the mechanism within the MANRS community, but There are a bunch of others in the MANRS communities who get upset with them, and we're not quite sure how to address this. And to find out more about it, come to Wednesday's talk, because you can see here's this thing that's going on within the industry to push back against the DDoS, volume of activities out there. And we're finding that, oh, look, they're on MANRS. Oh, look, they're the problem.
Yeah, and then
It's not solving it.
they don't comply with the action number 2, which is the anti-spoofing, and that it's another problematic thing. Yes, I get it. It's just, it devalues it. Yeah, I mean it's a very easy to pinpoint on the routing misorigination or leak, but on the DDoS side, it's very, very hard. To say, we'll say, oh yeah, we are doing our level best, blah blah blah. But it is a problem. It devalues the initiative. It devalues their participation, even though they are doing really good in all the other actions, but they're not doing anything on this one. It doesn't help. So yeah, that is a problem. One thing which we would like to, I would like to also raise is there is a renewed attempt towards source address validation, and there's a renewed discussion on the source address validation, which is one of the cause, not the only cause of the DDoS, one of the cause of the DDoS. So if you are interested in the source address validation, Barry is very, very heavily involved in that one. So yeah, please reach out.
As one of the people behind that, because of the, I don't know what to call it, the SAVNet working group and IETF, yes, and this kind of like, let's impose things and ignore MANRS. So having MANRS representations into forums like what's going on in IETF would be helpful.
Yes.
Because you got people saying like, oh, what's MANRS? I never knew what MANRS is, but here's my proposal because what you guys are doing all wrong, right? And then updating the materials, right? Because the reason why a bunch of us said, okay, we need to start pushing it and we want to anchor it in MANRS. There's no sense having like 4 or 5 different guides on how to do effective source address validation. We got ISAC, we got MANRS, it's funded, it's there. We use that as a resource with it. And to bring it broader than what you set up with the working group says, oh, here's the MANRS part. You got to make it a more open participation because there's a lot more talent and people who want to participate outside of MANRS community for these techniques.
Absolutely. So we have added source address validation as part of our research target for 2023. So if you are interested, we have funding available. If you want to spend some time on it, if you want to do something, crunch some data, please reach out to us. And if you are an organization who deeply care about source address validation, you can sponsor one of our mentors or ambassadors. So it goes either way. If anybody has any question or concern, please talk to us right now, later, but give me 1 minute so that I can run and get some giveaways, which I forgot at the table. So there are some questions. If you are paying attention to the presentation, we have some giveaways. So yeah, I'll get it. Robbie will be here. Any questions?
Sing a song.
All right. So we do have 2 MANRS leather bags, laptop bags. So First question. Again, if you were paying attention to the presentation, how many network operators or ISPs are part of the MANRS initiative? The closest answer will win as well if you are not 100% accurate. So start with the guesses, I would say. How many network operators are part of the MANRS initiative? Or you can go to the manrs.org and find out. Okay, so the Google is not picking up the recent numbers. So let's give another chance to somebody else. So it's a fair way off. All right, so we have, that's a good one. So we have 765. So since you are the first winner, you have the choice. Which color? Okay, the black one. So that's the second one is going to be much simpler. We discussed about bogons a lot in detail. Can you tell us the 3 categories of the delegated resources? And the delegate resource, I can tell you about 1. The remaining 2 you have to tell. 1 is assigned / allocated, so that you don't confuse. The remaining 2 no. What make them a bogon? Okay, we have one response. There is a third one. In the V4, there are not many, there are a lot of them in V6. Okay, we do have one answer, which is half correct. Okay, raise your hand and say it. Come on, whoever was it. Raise your hand and say it. There's no wrong answer. Yes, please. Okay, so now it makes available, reserved. Okay, all are going into one direction. So here you go. I mean, sorry, you don't have an option. So right, if you find those bags nice, because they are really nice, they are genuine leather. I love it. I have one now. I just stole it. So if you are interested in those bags, we will be running another one during the RPKI deployathon tomorrow. So if you are joining the RPKI deployathon, we do have 3 more bags. So you can come and collect those. And if you are interested in this t-shirt, you can come see us tomorrow at the RPKI deployathon. We have multiple sizes. If you are interested in this ISOC t-shirt, which is a polo shirt, very nice one, you can come and collect as well. So make sure that you come to the RPKI deployathon, or you see us on the booth right next to the APNIC help desk. We are there. We will be there. You will see MANRS across the place. So come and talk to us, collect your t-shirt, come to our APRICOT deployathon, answer some questions, and get a bag. So that's, yep.
Sorry, I got one more thing to add. There's another person in the room who I wanted to point it out. Leah from RIPE NCC. She's here this week, and she's giving out probes, the RIPE Atlas probes. It's an important part of measuring the internet. That's another important component of the MANRS is measuring the internet. So particularly here in the Philippines, we have very low visibility of the resilience of the internet, and hosting one of these probes. So there's the three big providers here, Globe, Rise, and Dot, is it? Or who's the recent? Dito, thank you. Yeah, if you're a customer of theirs, it's a matter of just plugging into a router. So please go see Leah. They're for free, and it's contributing to greater visibility for the internet. So I appreciate it if you help the internet community out in that respect.
All right. On that note, thank you so much for your time, your support for the MANRS initiative, and to all the work we are doing as part of ISOC. We need your help. We need your contribution. Please stay in touch. Please talk to us. Help us make it this program or all the other programs which we are doing under ISOC much stronger and much better. Thank you so much. But do not forget about the T-shirt. I cannot take them back home. So